of January, tragedy struck our community. And in response to the sorrow that has been woven into the fabric of our town, we gather. In honor of Ethan's life, Kristin and Mike have been working tirelessly to promote kindness, gun safety, and opportunities for our children to be protected. That asked me as their pastor standing in front of their church home to take a moment to center us as we respectfully move forward with greater awareness, compassion, and yes, and hope. Please join me in a moment of silence. Together, this day and every day, may we walk justly, and may we choose to live in peace. And now, Kristin and Mike's song.
Good morning. My name is Kristin Song. Thank you for all being here. My name is January 31st, 2018. He walked to his friend's house where he picked up an unsecured loaded gun and returned to him. He had zero chance to survive. At the same time, my beautiful boy was dying in that house. I was putting in a roast for dinner to celebrate Ethan getting his braces off that morning. Life was good until the unimaginable happened. I saw two police officers walking across my lawn. Like a rock being thrown on a frozen lake, my heart began to shatter. We have learned that the boys were playing with 3 unsecured guns for over 6 months. Dan Markle's idea of safe storage was to place his guns and ammunition in a shoebox in a Tupperware container. The keys to the trigger locks were in the same Tupperware container. Ethan's friend knew the location of the guns and keys, making the trigger locks useless and the guns unsecured. Ethan had never been introduced to guns until his friend showed him his father's guns. His friend also kept a gun under his bed a month. On January 12, 2018, Dan Markle took Ethan, his son, and another boy outside to learn how to shoot. He did not ask our permission, nor did he let us know that he did this with Ethan. Later that night, while Dan Markle was home, the boys continued to play with the guns, taking photos and videos of themselves. To Ethan's friend, when you were in our home, know that you were loved, cherished, and most importantly, safe. Your father's job was to protect you from yourself and to protect other minors from injuries. That was his job as a parent, not yours. And that is why DCF found him negligent. Your father owned the guns. He brought them into the house. He showed the boys how to shoot. He took you to shooting range. He videotaped your shooting and sent it to you so that you could show the other boys. Tragically, he was the one who recklessly stored his guns. What parent in their right mind would store keys, ammunition, and the guns in the same container knowing that teenage boys are coming into your house? Dan Markle knew the power of those guns and the damage they could do. It is Dan Markle who has Ethan's blood on his hands. Instead of Dan Markle stepping up like a man and taking responsibility for his actions and his recklessness in storing his guns, he is allowing his son to shoulder the blame. His son will carry that heavy burden forever. Know this, I would have traded places with Ethan in a second if it meant he could live. I would have died if it meant Ethan could have lived. That is what a parent looks like. Dan, I hope when you close your eyes at night that you see Ethan's face, not the beautiful face that it once was, but the face after he was shot. Ethan was so badly injured that we were not allowed to say goodbye to him in the hospital. I wanted to hold him, kiss his forehead, tell him again how loved and cherished he was and always will be. Emily, Evan, Mike, and I walked out of the hospital as my beautiful boy was being wheeled to the morgue. Ethan's death has brought me to my knees. It has shaken me to my core. It has broken me. But my feet are on solid ground. I will rise up unafraid. I will be stronger. I will fight harder. I will honor Ethan through action. I am Song strong. Ethan, I am sorry Mommy could not protect you. I will fight to my last breath to ensure that you did not die in vain. I will fight that some other child will die from an unsecured gun, or
more that a parent has to walk this heartbreaking journey. Rest in peace, my love.
I'm Ethan's dad, Mike Song. I first of all wanted just to say to my wife, Kristin, you are the best parent I know. You were safety conscious every second of your life. You were always looking out for not only our kids, but the kids that came into our home. And I think you're a role model for everyone who aspires to be a great mom. I just want to say that publicly and just acknowledge how lucky I am. How fortunate. You folks probably know a lot of families disintegrate when tragedy strikes. It's understandable, and it's not something I'm judging those families. Our family is tighter, stronger, and more passionate about life than we've ever been before. We're taking everything that we do and trying to honor Ethan's life. And seeing so many of our friends here who have supported us every step of the way, we couldn't have done it without you. I also just briefly want to thank the media who have been incredibly respectful to our family. We have not been hounded, none of these stories at all. You guys have been incredibly dignified, and that meant a lot because this was tragic enough without having to look out your windows and see people coming across your lawn. But we're here to talk about something, Ethan's Law. This is our announcement, and it's all about what Kristin just said. We're going to keep kids safe. We must pass Ethan's Law. At Ethan's wake, which happened right here, and thank God that Ginger and our entire faith community was here to support us, along with our incredible family, friends, and community, and folks in the Guilford Police Department who we just can't thank enough for the way they treated us. But at Ethan's wake, a friend who was a gun owner came up to me and said, "I'm furious. Guns have to be stored so kids can't get to them. That's what a responsible gun owner does." And I was kind of taken aback. Well, he was the first of many, many gun owners who approached me and said, "This is not the way that we want to store our guns. With kids in the house, kids are curious, everybody knows they get into things." This guy who came up to me, the first guy, through the last guy, and the women that came up to me, they're kind of like heroes. They're basically saying, let's work together to keep kids safe. Let's show what the best practices are and make that a law. And that's why I think we do need to pass Ethan's Law. Very briefly, Ethan's Law removes the loophole that says it's all about who loaded that gun. Fortunately, in many of these cases, you can't prove who loaded the gun, so it muddies the waters and nothing happens. And gun owners have no incentive or motivation to change any behavior, and this goes on and on and on. Here's the great news. By just removing that word loaded out of the current statutes and creating Ethan's Law, we can really focus on what's important, what matters most, which is how those guns are secured. And I know that every caring parent wants to secure those guns. Tossing guns and bullets and gun locks, that's not recommended by a single safety expert on this planet. That's why we must pass Ethan's Law. The state told me over and over again that Ethan's Law would have helped them achieve justice. And I tell you, I believe that. I believe the police officers, the law enforcement, the prosecutor said, we need to work on this law and we will help you. And I hope we can work together. Okay. Can I just ask you to raise your hand if you buckle your seatbelt when you get in a car? Just raise your hand. We all do. And we don't do it because it's the law of the land, although it is. We buckle our seatbelts because we know it's the safest way to train families around this world. And that's really all that we're saying here today. We're reaching out across all kinds of aisles and saying, this is like a seatbelt for gun storage and for guns and storage. A lot less accidents and a lot less things that are going to happen in this world. Now, really quickly, my friend Mike, another gun owner, I said, well, how long does it take you to access your gun? And he said, the technology has come miles forward. I can access my gun in 3 seconds. It's a quick PIN number that I hit. There's even biometric fingerprint technology, just like hundreds of millions of people use on their phones every day. The technology is there to kind of get over this issue of, well, I need my gun in a life and death situation, which I can empathize with that. You can find these gun safes on Amazon.com, $75 to save someone's life, to be a hero. I know that we can do that. Connecticut, my state, I love this state, I love this town and everybody in it. I was born here. Let's be an example of how a state can work together and really get something done. That's what Ethan's Law promises to do. Every day, 8 kids are accidentally shot in America. 4.6 million kids live in a home with unsecured firearms right now. 80% of the kids that commit suicide, they do it with a family gun. And 75% of the guns used in school shootings by minors came from tragic. And one of the things that really struck me was that over the next decade, 2.3 million guns are going to be stolen because they're not secured well. They're stolen because they're easy pickings for someone who comes into a house wanting to steal stuff. They're light, they're portable, and sometimes they're sitting right on the coffee table. We must pass Ethan's Law for all of these reasons, and we can make some history here. We can be practical and friendly. We can work together. We can be focused on results. Let's honor all the kids who have died, not just Ethan. I'd like to ask everybody here, all my friends and incredible supporters here, who I love you all dearly, if you could just say it with me here, I'll count to 3. We have a tradition of saying, we love you, Ethan. And I feel like he's here with us right now, cheering us all on. 1, 2, 3.
We love you, Ethan!
Thank you so much. I miss you, Ethan. I love you, and I promise we'll carry on the tradition of caring for people and making a change. And now I would like to thank our state senator, our state Kristin Song. They're the ones who are really stepping forward, and they'll take the ball and move it forward. And I hope that we can pass Ethan's Law in the coming year and make a change and make the world safer for every kid out there, every family. We love you all, and I'd like to introduce Sean Scanlon right now, our state representative. Sean?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Kristin. An unspeakable tragedy occurred in our community several months ago, but out of that tragedy, we have the capacity to do something I think that's truly incredible, which is to stand behind this incredible family and do something in the name of Ethan, who we lost too soon. But Ethan is not alone, because we lose too many people in this state every day to gun violence. And all of us together have the ability to do something about this, because we can reduce gun violence in the state of Connecticut. We can end gun violence in the state of Connecticut. We just have to get together and unite, not just as Democrats or Republicans, but as Connecticut residents, behind something that can keep our communities safe in the state of Connecticut. And so in January, when the new legislature convenes, I'll be very proud to introduce Ethan's Law as a bill in the Connecticut General Assembly. And as Mike just alluded to, what that law does is very, very simple. It's going to amend State Statute 29-37I, which is Connecticut's safe storage firearm law. And because of the word loaded being in that statute today, the owner of this gun is not being prosecuted. If we pass Ethan's Law, we will never have to worry again that somebody who improperly stores their gun in their house cannot be prosecuted for that crime. And I am very proud to stand with the Songs, the town of Guilford, who 11 months, I'm very proud to be from here. I'm proud to be a boy, but I've really never been prouder of the fact of our community to see them come together. The night after Ethan passed away, there was a vigil on the green. It was probably one of the coldest days I can remember, and there was hundreds of people out there. There's hundreds of people out here today. And there's always going to be hundreds of people standing behind Kristin and Mike Song and their entire family, because we are Song Strong as a community. We will always be Song Strong, and we are going to pass Ethan's Law to make sure that this never happens again and we can reduce gun violence. Thank you very much. And it's my pleasure to introduce Senator-elect Kristin Cohen, who I know will be a partner for me and with me in this effort to make sure that we pass Ethan's Law. Senator-elect Cohen.
Hi, everybody. I'm here, Kristin Cohen, as a community member, as a parent, as a Board of Ed member and as your state Senate-elect here, not because we want to relive every moment of that tragic day in January, but because we know that there are learnings to be had from that day, because we know that there are teachings. We were taught that there were loopholes. We were taught that we need to do things to protect our children, things that we aren't doing currently. So what are we going to do about it? I'm here today to tell you that the Songs have already done so much. They've been fighting so hard to ensure that their son's death was not in vain, that they are honoring his death through action. As a Board of Ed member, I know that we are coming to launch an app out of Sandy Hook app that will be launching in January to this community. It's a huge asset to the community, and I'm excited about that. And now I'm here as your state Senate-elect to tell you that I will be co-sponsoring the bill that Representative Scanlon just told you about. And I know that we will receive bipartisan support of that bill. I know that because we all know that we need to protect our children and families first and foremost. That's what we need to do as adults, as Kristin spoke about earlier today. That's our responsibility. And that law will do that. It will protect our children. It will prevent loopholes in legislation. So I hope you'll all join me in support of this legislation. You can be there at the start of the session, writing letters, coming to the chambers in support, and I'd love to see you all there, and I thank you for being here today. And I'd like to introduce Jeremy Stein, the Executive Director of Connecticut Against Gun Violence.
Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Especially thank you to Kristin and Mike Song for their strength. They are like a battery for us to do the job that we need to do. When I know that someone who has faced the kind of loss that they have faced, to do what we do in Connecticut Against Gun Violence is an easy task compared to what they have to go through. We've been around for 25 years. We literally write the laws in Connecticut. We've been doing it for a long time. And what we do is we write common sense gun laws. Common sense gun laws that we help get passed so that you and I and my family and others can be safe in the state of Connecticut. This is people. We want to be safe here. And we want to make sure that we're passing laws that keep us all safe all the time. As part of my job, in addition to trying to write and pass these laws, there's two things that I can think of that are the hardest thing that I can do as the Executive Director of Connecticut Against Gun Violence. And one of them is right now is being with parents who have lost their children. And I have to be here and try to pretend like it's all right, like this is never going to happen again. Because I know it will, because I've talked to thousands of survivors, thousands of people who have lost their children and their parents and their wives and their husbands. And this has to end now. Now, folks. And the other part of the job that I don't like very much is convincing people in the state assembly that they need to vote for a common sense gun law when it should be that easy. What Representative Scanlon and Senator-elect Cohen just mentioned, this is something that we should have no problem passing in Connecticut. And I have no doubt that we are going to. But I can tell you right now, there are going to be people that are against this bill. This is unconscionable. So, for the first part of this, for parents like Kristin and Michael, thoughts and prayers are just not enough. Vigils and sympathy, it's not enough. What CAGV offers and what I offer is that we will work tirelessly with the help of everyone here and everyone that will show up in Hartford to pass a child protection access law so that this never happens again. We will make sure that Ethan's law gets passed, because this is something that we need to do to keep our communities safe. And it's not just the children in Guilford, it's so many other children around the state and around the country. I mean, just last week, there was a 4-year-old in Hartford who was shot because he got access to an unsecured gun, a 4-year-old. Last week, a 13-year-old girl was shot in Wisconsin. A 14-year-old girl was shot and killed in Georgia. A 5-year-old was killed. A 17-year-old was shot in Michigan. And all 5 of these were killed or shot in the safety of their own home. And what we know is that where states have the strictest gun laws, half as many children die from firearms. Half. And we can do this by just passing a simple law and requiring people to lock up their guns when they're not using them. This is something that even the NRA preaches. And for the second part, for the people I have to convince to try to vote for this law, I am sending a warning to all the legislators that think that this is not a good idea, to all the legislators that think that they would rather line their pockets with NRA money. I am warning you right now. We are going to do what we just did this past election. If you are not going to vote for common sense, then the people of Connecticut will vote you out. So thank you once again to Kristin and Mike. I know this is going to be a long battle. Unfortunately, this is a marathon, but we're going to get this done. We are going to make sure this never happens to anyone else. We never have to go in such a setting to talk about someone who had to bury their children before their time. Thank you very much. Please, let's be the change that we want to see in Connecticut. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank the First Congregational Church for being so welcoming to us today. And all of you for coming to stand with the songs. They are incredibly courageous to do what they're doing right now, and I hope you'll end by giving them a round of applause for what they've done. To the media, the song firm is not going to take any questions today, but all of you do have a press release in your inbox from me that has some comments from them about what they've said today. So thank you all again very much.
You're so sick, and then you offer